to the Adventure of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
Sick of this coast that I've become. I've got to learn how to live again. Realize this is not my end. I've been through the worst, made my amends. I wanna live again. I paid enough and I did my time. Now I want to see the other side. The will is
This is Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm here with
Jake from Citizen Soldier.
This is Matt, Citizen Soldier.
This is Cooper. Juanita.
Kyle.
Nice. Here at Louder Than Life or Rainier Than Life, but it's cool today. It's just like a nice little Amsterdam drizzle here. That's what I'm going to call it. Because I was in Amsterdam for 2 months last year, and it was exactly like this every day, all day.
Well, we can handle rain like this, man. It seems like the further east you get, the less bad it gets, but rain out in Salt Lake is pretty brutal. It's a lot colder and heavier, it feels like. This is nice.
You should have been here yesterday.
Oh, I bet it was worse.
Yeah, it was not fun yesterday.
Yeah.
But we missed everything yesterday. So thankfully you're here today to play, because not one band played yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Hurricane Helene, or whatever her name is, she showed Kentucky what she was made of.
Yeah, Helene's not a rock fan.
No. I got to say, too, like last time I saw you, I had blue hair, and I'm looking at his blue beard, and everybody always said to me, hey, you should do your beard blue. And I'm thinking to myself, but he did it the smart way. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to eat that shit. But he did it the smart way because you get rid of the stuff that goes in your mouth.
Commit to it. You have to do it.
So how hard is it to keep the beard? I know how the hair is.
It's a full-time job now.
Right? That's why I went back to natural color, because, like, hey, it is a full-time job. So you guys got a brand new song that just dropped recently. Tell us the story behind that song.
Yeah, the song that just dropped recently is called Live Again. And I wrote that song with Johnny Andrews, who's a pretty prominent writer in rock. He's written with 3 Days Grace, Hailstorm, a lot of big bands. And it's just a song about anyone who's ever been in a place where they feel like they're kind of stuck in that numbness. They're not. A lot of people that I work with as a therapist who go through horrible things, a way that they cope is they just shut their emotions off. But you learn pretty quickly. Yeah,
That's me.
You learn pretty quickly that that's not a great way to live either. And so it's about that struggle of that moment when you're like, yeah, this is a way to escape the ugly stuff, but the ugly stuff might be worth being able to feel the good stuff too. And so the song's about that, and we're really happy with it. And right before it, we released a song called Burden that was #1 on the rock iTunes charts, which is the first for us, which we're super excited about. So yeah, things are going well.
That's cool. And yeah, how do you know that about me? Like, I do. I literally say that. It's like I have this switch, I just turn it off. And it's like the vampires on those TV shows, they turn off their humanity, and then somebody special has to grab them out of fucking hell.
What's interesting about that, though, and I talk to clients about this all the time, is there's like this misunderstanding about dissociation, because that's what we're talking about, right? It's numbing out, checking out, turning it off, where like it's really just an emotion.
Yeah.
And we talk about grounding, and I think people view grounding as like, oh, when I'm anxious or angry or stressed, but there's also grounding out of the blue emotions, sadness, hopelessness, dissociation. And so I think it's really cool in therapy to see people realize, like, oh, there are things I can do every day to, like, help my body know, hey, we're grounding up out of this numbness, we're getting back inside of our bodies, because that's the way people cope with their pain, man, is they just turn into a ghost. They just leave their bodies and shut the emotions off.
No doubt. And my other coping tool since I'm like a teenager is burying myself in work. Like, because while you're working, like even this, doing interviews, I'm not thinking about any of the personal bullshit that's bothering me, because I just go into the zone and stay there. And then later, then it's okay.
I can't tell you how many times my advice to a client is you need to slow down. and you need to keep a log and practice noticing what's going on in your body, what you're feeling, because I call that toxic productivity. I need to keep myself as busy as possible so I don't have to think about what's bothering me or what I'm feeling. And I notice a lot, like, people tell me they're angry. I'll be, oh, I'm such an angry person, and I always kind of laugh because I'm like, anger is a secondary emotion. You're burying something there. But I do that too, man. I notice that when I'm dealing with some deep sadness or difficult emotions, that I'll keep myself occupied and busy so I don't have to deal with it. I think we're all, especially Americans, I think we become expert avoiders.
Yeah.
You know, we have smartphones, we have a million different things to keep our attention, and so I think therapy's a great tool to remind people, like, it's okay to slow down and feel what you need to and work on your stuff.
What advice would you give kids nowadays, because they're going through a lot of hell in this world, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I personally had my own experience recently with that. How do you stop them from crossing line? Like I talk about, when I was a kid, there was that line you didn't cross. You'd go crazy, but nowadays I find kids just like jump right over that line. They don't even know a line is there.
This might be an unpopular answer, but I think it starts with parents having good boundaries with social media. I don't think having a smartphone a decade before your brain is even fully developed is healthy in any way.
I agree.
But I also think, like, the beauty of social media is, like, you're seeing these younger generations, they're really smart. Like, they're really tech savvy. They have higher levels of emotional intelligence in a lot of ways. So, like, I think that really teaching kids about how to manage those emotions, how to check in on themselves, how to take care of themselves from a young age, how to be self-reliant, self-sufficient, I think that's huge. Like, I am seeing adults in their 40s who I spend the first few weeks of therapy talking about self-regulation. Like, when are you going into hyperarousal? When are you going into hypoarousal? Which types of emotions exist in both spaces? How do you ground? That's like basic therapy 101. And there are adults who just have never been taught how to regulate their emotions. That's just not part of, we grow up and we take all these classes in high school and college that are meaningless, that we never use again, but we're not taught about how to manage our emotions, which you see 99% of the problems in society are because people are hurting and don't know how to manage their emotions. And they do things that are tragic.
And it happens a lot in music, too. So I want to hear what your band members think about having a therapist as part of the band.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's helped create a healthy culture with our band members and the fans. Like, it's just a fun experience to see that group of people, we all have issues and are hurting, but we're all there together.
Now, do you feel, or anybody can answer, do you feel that having that allows you to be a better band? Because how many bands have that band drama going on? And it's usually from the therapy they all need.
100%. I think it definitely helps. I think with what Cooper said, helps with the culture of the band. I think it also helps the five of us. It's like a brotherhood, right? And we've kind of learned that we can be vulnerable and speak how we're feeling with each other and be open and we've had some really hard conversations in this band, like probably ones that would break up other bands, but we feel like we can have those with each other and be safe. And I think a lot of that does come with Jake and his practice and what he brings to the band and setting that culture.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else? What he said. Now, I just thought of something while we were talking. So I think of when Metallica did the therapy. And even though it was all public and stuff, I think about them playing now. And as somebody that saw them way back the first show ever, I look at them now and I think they're a healthier band than they've ever been in the past 40 years. What's your opinion? Because I don't see the background of it or the expertise the way you see.
I can't speak specifically to the band because I haven't seen a whole lot of content on them recently, but I do think that, like, when you suppress frustrations for that long, it gets harder and harder to untangle that web of resentment, you know? The faster you're able to catch things and jump on them and talk through them, the easier it is usually to resolve them. So whether it's a band or a couple or a family, I mean, it's crazy, just like in my social circle at home, to see like couples who have been together for 20, 30 years that are still like, oh, my husband does this and drives me crazy and I just can't tell him. And I'm like, you've been with this person for 3 decades and you can't have this. I think if people knew how to have hard conversations, I think that would also that's an incredibly healthy tool, because when you don't do that, it just damages the relationship in so many ways, and just it's not worth the damage that it does to just get out of your comfort zone and just say those hard things you need to say.
And I love that, because I always say about relationships, they're all about proper communication. Not communication, but proper. Because we speak different languages no matter who we are as individuals sometimes. So I think you have to have those conversations. And like so many people in relationships are like, oh, but I don't want to hurt their feelings. Eventually that's going to happen. You're less likely to if you just bring it up and talk about it.
Well, I once saw a couples therapist, and these interviews, I don't like being painted as this hero, because I'm not. Like, I have all sorts of issues. I mean, I was in an office with my wife in couples counseling, which was great for us. It was a godsend for us. And the couples counselor told us, the couples that know how to fight always succeed. It's the couples that tell me we never fight that I worry about. Yeah. And that's what it's about. You cannot live with somebody or be around them all the time and not hurt their feelings or annoy them in some way. That's a fantasy. So it's knowing how to have productive, healthy conflict.
I love
That's
that.
The key to success.
It's so true, too, because that even goes right back to the turning the switch off, burying that's what you're doing by not having ever a fight. And then it explodes like 20 years later sometimes. So that's cool. So I think your band's going to last a long time, because you're not waiting 20 years to work on this crap. You're doing it right from the beginning.
I mean, people ask us how we crank out an album every year, how we do everything that we do, and I think it's just because we found a healthy system and way to be consistent.
Yeah.
And being independent's awesome also, because we don't have a record label telling us what we can and can't release. And we see bands who get frustrated because they're like, oh man, we have this great record done, but it's been 3 years since we finished it. I would lose my mind, you know? So I think that the healthy culture also kind of bleeds into the system and the business operations. It's like we have an approach where if we needed to say, hey, we need a year off, we're burnt out, we need to regroup, I don't think we would ever do that, because we're all workaholics. But in theory, if we wanted to set a boundary with ourselves, we could, and there wouldn't be any pressure, unhealthy pressure behind us saying you have to keep going when you don't even want to.
And I love hearing that live, because there's somebody recently that put an Instagram posting out beginning of the year, taking a mental health break, canceling stuff, and the hate that was in the social media comments just blew my freaking mind. Like, you care that much about going seeing a band once that you're willing to jeopardize their mental health or possibly life.
Yeah, man, and there's a lot of people out there. I was on Twitter the other day, and I should know better, or X, or whatever it is now. And there was, I won't say who it was, but there's this talking head who had a clip where he's like, real men don't take days off. Days off are an excuse, days off for this, and all this stuff. And I was just like, I can't believe we're in 2024, and those mentalities still exist and are prominent. Like, people are so afraid of being seen as weak that they're getting bullied into just being this pawn in a system where, your hard work gets to benefit everybody else but yourself. And like a happy society, like people, I know America's built on the back of hard work, right? And we value that so much. I think sometimes we value that so much that we miss the importance of other things like time off and enjoyment. And like when you have a society where people can't afford vacations and people can't afford to take a break and they feel like they have to work 2 jobs, that's a society where you see violence spike and you see crime spike. Like, healthy societies have to have happy people, and happy people have to feel like they have things to look forward to. You know?
I was just thinking that. What desire do you have to live if there's nothing to look forward to, and you're going to live Groundhog Day every day, usually the worst part of your day? So I agree with you 1,000,000%. And then like when I go over to Europe and see how they are, like you go into Spain and they have to close the afternoon down, old me would be like, that's crazy. I want to be able to work. Why can't I work? Now that I've seen it, I'm like, man, they're a lot smarter than we are.
I think we have a lot of problems, I think, that are unique to America. And I'm not going a political direction here, so don't worry. But something that fascinates me is the spike in shootings. I have 2 little girls. And so it's crazy how anxious I feel thinking about them getting into public school and having to worry about that. And again, like, as much as both sides of the political aisle want to argue about the causes of that, I think what everyone can agree on is happy people don't get pushed to a point like that.
Yeah.
Happy, healthy families don't breed situations like that. So self-care, as much as people will, try to label that as laziness or a lack of effort to work, like, I managed people in residential treatment working with people with disabilities for a long time. And I'll tell you, the people who knew when to take a vacation and take days off and use their PTO, they were the best workers, man. Like, when they were there, they were on and they crushed it. And it was the ones who always picked up the extra shifts and never took time off that were always just burned out and mediocre.
Yeah.
We're not built to go and never rest. It's just not how we're wired.
No doubt. And then that is when you get burnt out. You don't want to do anything, or worse. So, and that's where I think music is therapy. So I'm glad you guys are here at Louder Than Life. What else you got going on after today?
We're going to be heading down for a West Coast tour with Icon for Hire and Holocene. It's our headlining tour. We're doing Texas and Phoenix and California. We're doing Pacific Northwest as well. Doing Aftershock Festival in Sacramento.
I'll see you there. That's a great
awesome
one, too.
We're also excited that we just got confirmed for a main stage slot at Sonic Temple next year.
Nice.
Which we are insanely...
Of Metallica.
Dude, we're just like, we won't beat our chest about much. We try to keep our heads down and be humble, but like, we have no political connection. We have no manager. We have no label. We played Columbus until we sold out a 1,500 cap room, and that's why we're on that main stage.
Wow.
It's really rewarding to go somewhere into a new market and just to earn it. You know what I mean?
Love
so
it.
we're stoked for that.
That is so freaking cool. See, that's the best part of the whole interview right there, because it just shows other bands out there that are new, young, what you can do and what you can accomplish, because it's so hard nowadays in music. And there you go. And that, to me, that comes from being healthy, too, I think.
100%.
Love it. Thanks for being here at Louder Than Life, and thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.